Oh gosh, there's so many. This is going to be just a series of hard pivots. Here's one that's lighter. You and I have spoken about this, but I wanted to share it on the podcast. I was in the gym the other day without Ben, and these two, I want to say anywhere from 18 to 22-year-old guys came in. One of them was built like I am, but an inch or two shorter. And he and his friend were screaming is an exaggeration, shouting, oh yeah, when I do dips, I always do 2 plates, and, just talking about, like, he's built like me, and he's doing double plated weighted dips, which is just like, I might be able to squeak those out, but certainly not with good form. And as I looked over at this young gentleman, form was not in his vocabulary.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, whatever it was required, and he was doing all machines, classic. And at one point, I was like, okay, he's just talking loud. At one point, he put so many 45-pound plates on the, what is it called? It's the squat machine where what is that called? Leg press?
Yeah, leg press.
He puts a lot of the weights nearby, and there's plenty of other plates in the gym, and he starts shouting, we need more plates. Are there more plates? Does anyone have more plates? Like, and non-ironically goes up to the staff very loudly asking for more plates. He's got legs that are the size of mine, and if you can't see them, they're not impressive. Yeah. He gets on the machine. He's got both of his hands on his knees to press it up, is barely going down, is breaking everything he can to move the weight. And and then, you came another day, and there was a kid, same age group, doing the bag.
Dude.
And just cursing at the bag, like, you like that, bitch? Boom, boom. Yeah. And he didn't
is that your chin? Not anymore. And then he would throw a punch and hurt his elbow and go, ooh, ah, ooh. And then he'd say, oh, yeah, you like that? And he'd throw a kick. And then he'd go, oh, I hurt my foot on that one. And I was watching this. It hurts my soul, man. Since I trained a little bit in this stuff, like when I see people doing that, I'm just like, oh, please don't think you're a good fighter. You're going to get beat up.
In both cases, there was no self-awareness. And these were not done ironically. There was no hidden camera.
No.
These were genuine expressions of that level of 18 to 22-year-old confidence. And I was like, how does this happen? One, because I look back and I was like, I'm sure I exhibited a lot of those traits at that age. And I think a big reason for it, and an unintended consequence of college, is that we pump up the egos of 18 to 22-year-old men, because the cap on their experience or of their social hierarchy is the senior, who is 21 or 22 years old and is the coolest person in their social sphere. But what they don't realize, and this is, again, when we left college, all of the cool seniors went out to get cool banking jobs in New York, and they all broke up with their girlfriends because they were ready to take over the world. And within 6 months, the vast majority were begging to get back with their college girlfriends because they were not shit in New York City. And it just made me, I was piecing all this together, and I realized that, like, college is this bubble that we create to make 18 to 22-year-old men feel confident so that they don't start riots.
Well, I also think just because of how annoying the one time I was there, at least, how annoying sometimes some of these people can be, it also helps separate them from society so that I can work out without a 19-year-old kid shouting about plates. You know what I mean? Like, you all go shout together, and then you go flirt with 19-year-old women, and you just go be by yourselves, and then we'll be over here not being assholes, and you'll grow out of this once you're 23, get into the real world, and get humbled.
Yes. And I mean, I remembered this from college. All of these stories were coming back to me. In college, the way that the world works is when a girl who is, say, an attractive senior graduates college and moves into the real world in New York, she is incredibly desirable to just about everybody. She doesn't know it yet. So when she shows up and the promoter invites her out to the club, and she's like, oh, how much? And he's like, no, it's free. Oh, great. What about dinner? No, that's free too. She has, upon graduating, not realized the lengths that the world will go to in order to include her. And the these
guys are paying 10 grand for a table. Do you want to come in for free next to them and drink for free and
drink for free and get everything for free?
It's all
and
yours.
There's like no obligation.
By the way, we'll take you to dinner beforehand.
You don't even have to speak to them. That's how valuable your presence is. And then men graduate college and they've dated these girls and been around them, and these girls have really had crushes on them, and they show up at the door and it's like, get the hell, like, no one wants you around.
Yeah, unless you're going to pay 10 grand for the table.
Which you're not, because you're a 22-year-old guy. And I think one of the things that college does is it creates a space where 18 to 22-year-olds are not competing with 22 to 30-year-old men and beyond.
Well, this is something I didn't understand when I was in college. When I was in college, I thought the most attractive age for a man was 25. Yeah. You know what I mean? I just thought that was the fact. So I was like, okay, I'm 20. The girl I like is 20. But if you had us in the real world, it would just be me competing with a guy who is 25. It didn't occur to me, and maybe this is only because of I live in major cities, but in New York, Rio, LA, that the most attractive guy is in his 30s, and he has a giant house in Malibu, or bought a table because it means nothing to him. He didn't scrape together 10 friends to do it for a night. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And it also didn't occur to me that the beautiful 22-year-old woman is totally comfortable with that 11-year age gap a lot of the times. And maybe there's some women who aren't, but I really didn't understand how far a man's attractiveness extended in terms of years. You know what I mean? I thought it was like 25, and then you slowly downhill from there. Mm-hmm. And upon getting into the world and getting older and seeing it, it's like, oh yeah, if we didn't have college campuses, life would be a lot harder for 21-year-old men.
Yeah. Well, and I think, I'm not sure that it's a bad thing. Like it creates a space where you can be really cool, have a girlfriend your age, test some things, and not just be completely excluded from society, which, if we're being real,
you have no
older
money,
men have
no
interest in 18 to 22-year-old men. And I think you'd see a tremendous amount of women in that age bracket start dating older, maybe not 30, maybe 25, maybe 26, but everyone would collectively be sick of 18 to 22.
Well, especially like the 19-year-old. So
and I say this as a former 18 to 22-year-old man. This is not meant to shade or say that you're a bad person in this age, and you'll experience this. I lived in a 9-person house, and rode. I had a great job too at the time. I rode the metro to work and ate canned beans and an avocado. That was my splurge. Like, people didn't want to be around me because there was not a lot that I could do for them at that time. And that was why charisma became such an important thing, because it was like the one differentiator in that age group that was in my direct, immediate control, and I didn't have to wait years to invest in. And I think as I look back on my life, that was why I was so insanely focused on charisma, is because in American society, not in a malicious or evil way, the men of that age are really not valued highly. Not to say that we're treated like trash or anything, but just people would just rather be talking to a woman that age, or an older, more established man, or an older, more established woman. And so, yeah, it's like, oh, I better learn to be really interesting with the words that I use, because if I'm not, there's going to be no hanging out with anybody. Nobody wants to spend time with me. And it is interesting that we really got into it upon leaving the cloister of college. That was when we were like, oh, this is when it has the most dramatic effect, because it's the difference between being invited and not being invited.
No, it's the difference between free bottle service every day versus you're not allowed in.
Yeah. So, anyways, I don't think that those young guys realized they had that effect on my my thinking. And just to be clear, like, I probably did similar things. I probably had a similarly inflated ego based on my surroundings, and probably hormones and all the other sorts of things that go into that cocktail. So I get it. I was kind of observing it from a different perspective for the first time. Hope that you guys enjoyed that clip. If you want to see more like this and have us do more podcasts, we are 100% funded by our generous patrons. And if you'd like to contribute, there's a link in the description, and we'll have one pop up on the screen right here, so that we can do more podcasts where we have fun conversations, and hopefully some deep ones like this. Either way, hope that you enjoyed the video, and I will see you in the next one.